The struggling artist's refusal to compromise triggers an unbelievable chain of events that nobody, least of all Maya Winters herself, could have anticipated. She stands motionless before her canvas in the weak February light, filtering through the cracked skylight of her studio apartment, paintbrush frozen mid-stroke. The rejection letter lies crumpled at her feet, its formal language still burning in her mind. While we appreciate the technical skill evident in your work, the gallery seeks pieces with broader commercial appeal. Maya closes her eyes, feeling the familiar tightness in her chest. 28 years old, 6 years out of art school, and still fighting for a single wall in a reputable gallery. Her bank account hovers near empty. The rent is 2 weeks overdue. And now, this, another suggestion to soften her stark, emotionally raw style into something more accessible to the average collector. The brush trembles in her paint-stained fingers. For a moment, just a moment, she considers it. Painting pretty landscapes, generic abstracts, anything that might actually sell. The thought makes her stomach turn. No, she whispers to the empty room. The word hangs in the air, gaining strength as it echoes against the bare walls. No. With sudden resolve, Maya dips her brush and attacks the canvas with renewed vigor, dark blues and violets swirling into the silhouette of a hunched figure, solitary, defiant, unapologetically authentic. She works through the night, ignoring the growling of her stomach and the chills seeping through her thin sweater. By dawn, the painting stands complete, perhaps her most honest work yet. She photographs it in the morning light, posts it to her meager social media following with the caption, "Will not compromise, will not surrender. This is who I am." Then she collapses into exhausted sleep on her threadbare couch, unaware that those pixels traveling through cyberspace are about to change everything. 3 miles across the city, Eleanor Vance scrolls through her phone while waiting for her driver. At 62, the widow of the renowned architect Richard Vance seldom ventures into social media's depths, but insomnia has driven her to mindless browsing. Something about the stark image on her screen makes her pause, thumb hovering over the screen. The raw emotion in the painting, a solitary figure seemingly bearing the weight of the world yet somehow unbowed, strikes a chord so deep she feels it physically, like a hand pressing against her sternum. Eleanor hadn't recognized emotion in anything since Richard's death 18 months ago. She clicks on the profile. Maya Winters. Unknown. Unrepresented. The gallery of images shows work that is technically brilliant but commercially suicidal, paintings that force viewers to confront pain, isolation, resilience, and rare moments of fragile beauty. Eleanor recognizes a kindred spirit in this unknown artist's refusal to look away from life's harsher truths. "Marcus," she calls to her driver as he appears at the door. "Change of plans." The knocking startles Maya from sleep. She blinks, disoriented, as afternoon sun slants across her small apartment. The knocking comes again, more insistent. Staggering to the door, she peers through the peephole to see an elegant older woman in a camel hair coat, her silver hair pulled back in a perfect chignon. Behind her stands a man in a driver's uniform. "Ms. Winters?" the woman calls through the door. "My name is Eleanor Vance. I'd like to discuss your work." Maya's heart pounds. Eleanor Vance, the Eleanor Vance whose late husband's architectural foundation commands respect throughout the art world. But why would someone like her be standing outside Maya's door in this rundown neighborhood? With trembling hands, Maya unlocks the door, acutely aware of her paint-splattered clothes and the disarray of her tiny studio apartment. "Mrs. Vance, you're painting?" Eleanor interrupts, her sharp eyes taking in both Maya and the finished canvas still on the easel. "The one you posted this morning." "How much?" Maya blinks. It's not finished." A lie. She knows it's complete, possibly the most complete thing she's ever created. "Don't." Eleanor's voice softens unexpectedly. "Don't compromise your truth even to me." She moves past Maya into the apartment, drawn to the canvas like a magnet. She stands before it in silence, her rigid posture gradually softening as she absorbs the work. "My husband died last year," Eleanor says finally, still facing the painting. "Since then I've felt nothing. Until I saw this." She turns to Maya, her composed facade cracking just enough to reveal the grief beneath. "I need this in my home. Name your price." Maya names a figure that would cover 3 months' rent, more than she's ever asked for a painting, yet still grossly undervalued. Eleanor doesn't blink. "Unacceptable," she says crisply, and Maya's heart sinks. But then, Triple that and I'll take it today. And I want to see more. What follows is a blur. Eleanor writing a check that makes Maya's hands shake. The careful wrapping of the canvas. Eleanor's business card pressed into Maya's palm with instructions to bring more work to the Vance Foundation offices the following week. By the time the elegant woman and her driver depart with the painting, Maya stands in her empty doorway wondering if she hallucinated the entire encounter. The check in her hand, however, is very real. Days later, Maya finds herself in the soaring glass atrium of the Vance Foundation, portfolio clutched to her chest. The receptionist leads her not to some lower-level office, but directly to Eleanor's executive suite at the top of the building. The walls are adorned with museum-quality pieces, a small Rothko, what appears to be an original O'Keeffe, and there, in the center of the main wall, hangs Maya's painting. Eleanor rises from behind an immense desk. Right on time. I appreciate punctuality. She gestures to the portfolio. Show me. One by one, Maya displays her work. Each piece a raw, emotional landscape, uncompromising in its honesty. Eleanor says little, her expression giving nothing away. When the last painting is propped against the wall, she remains silent for so long that Maya's confidence begins to crumble. Mrs. Vance, if they're not what you're looking for, I'm not looking for anything, Missy. Winters, that's precisely why your work speaks to me. Eleanor's gaze is direct, penetrating. You don't create what you think people want to see. You create what needs to be expressed, regardless of commercial appeal. She pauses. I'm prepared to offer you something, but it requires explanation. Eleanor walks to the window overlooking the city. Richard built this foundation to support artists who refuse to compromise their vision. Before his illness, he personally selected each recipient. She turns back to Maya. Since his death, I've maintained the foundation but lost the passion for discovery. Until your painting. The offer, when it comes, nearly stops Maya's heart. A year-long fellowship with a generous stipend, studio space in the foundation's building, and a guaranteed exhibition at year's end. The only requirement, that Maya continue to create with absolute authenticity, without consideration for commercial appeal. Why me? Maya asks, voice barely above a whisper. There are thousands of struggling artists in this city. Eleanor's composed face shows a flash of vulnerability. Because your work made me feel again. After Richard died, I thought that part of me was gone forever. She gestures to Maya's painting. You reminded me it wasn't. The fellowship changes everything. For the first time since art school, Maya can paint without the constant pressure of impending financial ruin. Her new studio, a vast, light-filled space on the foundation's top floor, becomes a sanctuary where her work evolves rapidly. No longer constrained by her tiny apartment, she experiments with larger canvases, more ambitious compositions. Yet with opportunity comes a new kind of pressure. The knowledge that Eleanor believes in her, has invested in her, creates its own burden. Some mornings, Maya stands frozen before blank canvases, paralyzed by the fear of disappointing her patron. It's on one such morning, 3 months into the fellowship, that Eleanor finds her staring helplessly at an untouched canvas. You're thinking too much, Eleanor observes from the doorway. Maya startles. Mrs. Vance, I didn't hear you come in. Eleanor, please. We've moved beyond formalities. She approaches, studying Maya more than the blank canvas. You're blocked. Maya nods miserably. I feel like I owe you something. Spectacular. Something worthy of your investment. Eleanor's laugh is unexpected, short and rusty, as if rarely used. You owe me nothing but your honesty. That's what I'm investing in. She gestures to the canvas. If you're stuck, perhaps you need to experience something new. Come with me. Without explanation, Eleanor leads Maya down to the parking garage where Marcus waits with the car. They drive for nearly an hour, leaving the city behind for rolling countryside. Finally, they turn down a long drive lined with ancient oaks, arriving at a stone house nestled against a backdrop of woods and meadows. Welcome to my home, Eleanor says simply. The house is nothing like Maya expected, not a sterile showplace but a warm, lived-in sanctuary filled with books, art, and evidence of a life well lived. Eleanor gives a brief tour before leading Maya to what was clearly Richard's studio, a magnificent space with windows overlooking a wild garden now dormant in winter. Richard would approve of you working here, Eleanor says, watching Maya's face as she takes in the space. It's been empty too long. Maya turns to her in shock. You want me to work here? But my studio at the foundation is beautiful but institutional. Sometimes creativity needs a different environment. Eleanor's expression softens imperceptibly. Stay the weekend. See if it helps break through your block. The invitation becomes a ritual. Every other weekend, Maya escapes to Eleanor's country home. Sometimes Eleanor is there, other times she remains in the city, giving Maya solitude. In Richard's studio, surrounded by the ghosts of another artist's creativity, Maya finds her work transforming. The stark isolation in her earlier paintings gives way to something more nuanced, still emotionally raw but now containing threads of connection, of tentative hope. During the weekends when Eleanor is present, a cautious friendship forms. At first, their interactions are limited to discussions of art and occasional shared meals. But gradually, Eleanor reveals pieces of herself. Her courtship with Richard, their childless marriage, her own abandoned dreams of becoming a sculptor. "Why did you stop?" Maya asks one evening as they sit before the fireplace, snow falling gently outside. Eleanor contemplates her wine glass. "Fear, mostly. Fear of not being good enough. Richard encouraged me, but I couldn't bear the thought of being merely adequate in a world where he excelled." She looks up, her gaze direct. "Don't make my mistake, Maya. Adequacy in pursuit of authentic expression is far nobler than excellence in service to fear." That night, Maya dreams of Eleanor as a young woman, hands covered in clay, creating alongside Richard. She wakes with an idea so clear it almost blinds her. Without waiting for morning coffee, she rushes to the studio and begins work on a new series, paintings that explore the relationship between creation and fear, between compromise and authenticity. By sunrise, 3 canvases are underway. Eleanor finds her there, paint-splattered and wild-eyed with creative energy. "I see you've broken through," she observes dryly, but her eyes are warm. Maya nods, barely looking up from her work. "I need more canvas. And cobalt blue. I've almost used it all." Eleanor's mouth curves in a small, pleased smile. "I'll have Marcus take you to get supplies." She moves closer to examine the nascent paintings. "These are different. They're about you," Maya says simply. "About fear and courage and the space between." Eleanor goes very still. "I'm not sure I'm comfortable being your subject." Maya finally looks up, brush paused mid-stroke. "You've been my subject since the day you knocked on my door. You just didn't know it." Something shifts between them in that moment, a deepening of understanding, a recognition of mutual influence. Eleanor doesn't respond directly, but the next day, Maya discovers art supplies delivered to the studio, not just canvas and cobalt blue, but an embarrassment of riches, rare pigments, imported brushes, materials Maya could never have afforded on her own. Attached is a simple note: "See what happens when you refuse to compromise? E." The months pass. Maya's work evolves dramatically, gaining depth and emotional complexity. The exhibition at the Foundation, originally planned as a small showing, expands as Eleanor recognizes the importance of what's happening in Maya's studio. Gallery directors who once rejected Maya's work now call with interest, having heard rumors of Eleanor Vance's protégé. But as the exhibition approaches, tension grows between the two women. Eleanor becomes increasingly involved in curation decisions, sometimes challenging Maya's instincts about presentation. The Vance name carries weight. Eleanor reminds her during one particularly heated discussion, "We have a responsibility to present your work in the most impactful way." "But it's my work," Maya counters, a hint of the old defiance returning. "I need to trust my instincts about how it should be experienced." Eleanor's expression closes. "Of course. I apologize for overstepping." She withdraws not just from the curation process, but from their newly established friendship as well. The weekend invitations to the country house cease. Their interactions become formal, limited to necessary communications about the exhibition. Maya feels the loss acutely, but doesn't know how to bridge the growing distance without compromising her artistic integrity, the very quality that drew Eleanor to her in the first place. 2 weeks before the exhibition, Maya arrives at her Foundation studio to find a package on her work table. Inside is a small, rough clay sculpture of 2 figures seated side by side, heads bent toward each other in conversation. Though primitive in technique, the piece captures a powerful sense of connection and mutual respect. The note reads simply, "I tried again. Not adequate, but authentic. E." Maya cradles the sculpture, recognizing it as both apology and olive branch. Eleanor has done what she herself urged Maya to do, create authentically without fear of inadequacy. The gesture pierces Maya's heart. That evening, she drives herself to Eleanor's city apartment for the first time. The housekeeper seems surprised but shows her in. She finds Eleanor in the living room, Maya's original painting on the wall beside her. "I was wrong," Maya says without preamble, "not about my work, but about not seeing how much of yourself you've invested in this exhibition. It matters to both of us." Eleanor's posture remains rigid. "You were right to assert your vision. I became too controlling." "No." Maya steps closer. "You became too afraid. Afraid this exhibition might fail, that your investment in me might prove misguided." She gestures to the painting on the wall. "You took a chance on me when I was nobody. Now I'm asking you to take another chance, to trust that we can collaborate without either of us compromising what matters." The tension in Eleanor's shoulders eases slightly. "What are you proposing?" "A true partnership for the exhibition. Your experience with my vision." Both voices heard. Maya takes a deep breath. "And I want to include your sculpture as part of the exhibition." Eleanor's composure cracks. "That's absurd. It's amateur work at best. It's authentic, and it's part of the story." Maya reaches for Eleanor's hand, the first time she's initiated physical contact between them. The story isn't just about a struggling artist anymore. It's about connection, about how refusing to compromise opened both our lives to something neither of us expected. Eleanor doesn't pull away. After a long moment, she squeezes Maya's hand. "Richard would have liked you tremendously. I wish I could have known him. In some ways you do. Through me." Eleanor's smile is small but genuine. "Now tell me how you envision this partnership working." The night of the exhibition arrives, and the Vance Foundation Gallery gleams with light and buzzes with the energy of the city's art elite. Maya's work, 37 paintings created during her fellowship year, hangs throughout the space, arranged not chronologically but emotionally, telling the story of her artistic evolution. In the center of the main gallery, a small pedestal holds Eleanor's clay sculpture, spotlit to cast dramatic shadows. Beside it hangs Maya's newest work, completed just days before, a large canvas depicting two women working side by side in a sun-filled studio, one young with paint-stained hands, one older with clay-covered fingers, both creating with identical expressions of fierce concentration. The painting's title card reads, "The Uncompromising for EV." Eleanor, elegant in black silk, has maintained professional composure throughout the evening, but when she reads the title card, her hand flies to her throat. Maya, watching from across the room, moves to her side. "Too much?" she asks quietly. Eleanor shakes her head, blinking rapidly. "Perfect," she whispers. "Absolutely perfect. The exhibition is a triumph." Critics praise the emotional journey evident in Maya's evolving work. Collectors compete for pieces, driving prices to levels that leave Maya breathless. By evening's end, nearly every painting bears a red dot indicating a sale. As the last guests depart, Maya and Eleanor stand alone in the gallery, surrounded by the physical manifestation of their year together. "What happens now?" Maya asks, voicing the question that has haunted her for weeks. "The fellowship is ending. The structure that has supported her transformation will soon disappear." Eleanor studies her, head tilted slightly. "That depends on what you want, Maya. The foundation can extend your fellowship, though I sense you might be ready for independence." She pauses. "Or there's a third option." "Which is?" "Richard's studio at the country house." "It suits you." Eleanor's voice is carefully neutral. "You could make it your permanent workspace. Come and go as you please." Maya's breath catches. "Are you offering me a place in your home?" "I'm offering you continued access to a space where you've done your best work." Eleanor's composure slips just slightly. "And yes, I suppose I'm also offering you a place in my life if you want it. This year has been unexpected for both of us." Maya thinks of the lonely woman who appeared at her door a year ago, seeking connection through art, and the struggling artist she herself had been, defensive, isolated, terrified of compromise, yet equally afraid of never breaking through. How far they've both come. "I'd like that very much," she says simply. Eleanor nods, satisfaction and relief briefly visible before her usual composure returns. "Good. That's settled then?" She glances around the gallery. "We should celebrate. There's champagne in my office." As they walk together through the gallery of Maya's work, physical evidence of a transformation neither could have predicted, Maya feels a profound sense of rightness. Her refusal to compromise had indeed triggered an unbelievable chain of events, not just career success, but something far more valuable, authentic connection, mutual growth, and the discovery that the most meaningful art emerges not from isolation, but from the courage to remain true to oneself while opening to others. Outside, snow begins to fall on the city, soft and silent. Inside, two women who once stood alone now stand together, surrounded by the beautiful evidence of what can happen when we refuse to compromise what matters most.